Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Let's see, Derek, pull up that article about the Silicon Valley Bank issue. There we go. Yeah, regulators face urgent task to stem spread from Silicon Valley Bank. Next steps could have a ripple effect through the financial system. Wow. Talking about a great example of you can't take it with you.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Well, folks, I hate to start off our show the way most announcers on talk shows start off shows nowadays, with a bunch of gloom and doom news, but here goes. Taxes, surrender penalties, stock market loss, interest rate risk, yada, 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 and yes, now, as we record today's show on March 14th, 2023, another big bank failure, just like occurred back in 2008. All of these factors and things out of your control are contributing to the worst financial feeling of them all, and that is this realization that you have less access to your money than you think. And with this lack of access comes the realization and reminder that as we've been discussing these past few weeks, guess what, folks? You really can't take it with you. Part 3. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before I jump right back into our discussion of why you can't take it with you, let me introduce in our Worry-Free production studios on this beautiful March 14th, 2023, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Oh, speaking of past episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement, I want to take a minute to do something I do not do enough, and that's thank Aaron specifically for his many years of assisting and producing this TV show each week. In fact, taking a quick check here, this is episode number 456. So Aaron, please tell these fine folks how they can watch past episodes in case they missed them previously.
Sure, folks, Aaron Orander here. I just want to let you know, if you want to watch past episodes, it's really easy to do. All you got to do is go to youtube.com. That's youtube.com. And right there in the search bar, just type in Tony Walker Financial. And you'll see Tony's smiling face. You're going to find not only past episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement, you're going to find all types of video content. All right, Tony, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Okay, Aaron, once again, thank you very much, partner. All right, back to this notion of having access to your money when you need it. It can be a huge problem for savers in retirement. Whether it's taxes owed on it or a number of other limitations to getting your money at full fair market value, and yes, even a bank failure, and being the last in line in the bank to get your money, the problem is sometimes not that you don't have enough money to retire. The problem is you have limited access to it. You see, having a lack of access to your money not only creates worry, but it allows others in the financial world to continue to hang on to your money so that they can make more money on it than sometimes you can. So what do most people do? Well, they fret and they fume, and as a result, they do nothing, but that's about it. There's no change that takes place, which is why today I'm going to change this attitude a little bit about money, and we're going to start showing you how to have access to it. So stay tuned. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Last week, I introduced this term fair market value and how what something is worth on paper may not be what it's worth when you go to convert it to cash and try to spend it. Don't believe me? Just ask the depositors of SVB Bank when they found out that the bank was belly up and people made a run on it to get their money out. Assuming you haven't gotten the word and tried to get your money out, this is what the scene looked like over at SVB. So, what are the main reasons people have little to no access to their money and as a result are fearful of spending it? Well, there's four main issues. And first of all, we have taxes. We'll go over this in more detail. We have something called surrender penalties, stock market loss, and the fourth is something called interest rate risk, which is usually based on bonds and what took down SVB, too many long-term bonds. You know, as I think about how difficult it might be for viewers of this show to truly understand all the complexities that go into our economy, the Fed, FDIC, politicians ad nauseum, let me boil all this down to points on a scoreboard. That's all this is. You see, you and I work and play hard, and our money is like a score on a scoreboard. The more you save, the higher the score. And your opponent is who? Well, it's taxes, fees, surrender charges, stock market loss, etc. The problem is, even if you're ahead, let's say 88-44 with only 2 minutes left, you think you got the game won. Well, guess what? There's a guy controlling the scoreboard. That's the Fed, let's say, controlling interest rates. And that Fed can click that score and change that in a heartbeat to where all of a sudden you look up and it's 66-66, a dead tie. Sound crazy? Well, just look at how much it cost all of a sudden to buy groceries and to fill up your tank and gas. Folks, that's you and I playing in a game we can't win because we don't control the clock nor the scoreboard. So let's take a look at the 5 financial institutions and who we turn our money over to and see how easy it is that we give up access. And I'm going to try to help you understand how to get more control back of the things you can control. The first thing we're going to look at are banks. Now, banks, you have to watch this access because let's take a bank CD, which we sell bank through CDs through our Charles Schwab program. If you take that CD out and liquidate it prior to the end of the term, you're going to pay a penalty. So what happens is sometimes people have bank CDs, they have them long term, and they limit their access because of penalties. That's one way you limit your access. The next thing we have are insurance companies. Now, you know how much I love annuities, but folks, you have to be really careful with insurance companies. They're the ones that issue annuity contracts, and most annuities come with pretty hefty surrender charges. Well, what does that mean? Well, you have to understand the term of the annuity. They can be from 3 to 15 years, but whenever you hear term, that's the term of the contract that if you liquidate and take all of that money out during the term, you're not going to have as much access to it. You're going to have to pay penalties. Now, incidentally, with most annuities, they usually allow you 10% access per year penalty-free. So we can explain all those different things. All the more reason you better be talking to somebody that understands annuities so you know how much access you have to the annuity. The third thing we're going to talk about is the government. Boy, this is interesting. Take that 401k of yours. The government's instituted all these tax laws, and many people, we'll see this example in just a second, do not take their money. They do not get access to their money. Why? Because of all the darn taxes. So in some ways, taxes, or the fear of those taxes, limits people's access to the money. It's a weird conundrum that people find themselves in, and we can show you how to try to lower those taxes so you can enjoy more of your money. The fourth thing is interest rate risk. Now, we're picking on corporations because corporations are the ones that borrow a lot of money, and those are called bonds. You can have government bonds, but a lot of times corporations have very, very long-term bonds. And as we're going to see next week, we're going to be talking to our own fiduciary here in the office, my favorite nephew, Wes Walker, about this idea of these long-term bonds and how it pulled down this recent bank that went down. So you have to be very careful that long-term bonds don't limit your access to the money. And the fifth and final thing, well, we all know about Wall Street. And you say, well, Tony, you got stock market loss up there. How can that be less access to me? Well, let's think about this. Let's imagine you put $100,000 in an individual stock and it's doing great, right? And all of a sudden you need your money next year. Well, let's say the broker or even we told you, yeah, you can get your money out here at any time. No penalties, no worries, no nothing, all right? Well, but in the meantime, if that stock is dropped to $80,000 and you need all your money out, folks, that's a $20,000 loss. And I'm seeing this right now. A lot of people are nearing retirement. They didn't pull back on some of their risk in their 401k plans. They've got all of these losses. They need to move the money into a game plan such as what we've devised for them, but they don't want to take the loss. So what do? They kind of wait it out, which is pretty scary because I saw the same thing happen in 08, 09. People kept thinking the market would come back, which is fine if you were younger, but a lot of people were retired. The market did not come back, and many of those people had to go back to work. So although stocks don't really have surrender charges, the very fact that they can lose money is in and of itself a surrender charge. Okay, let's go to our next example here. I want to talk about something, and it's something called tax bracket creep. We're going to use this example to explain how taxes in this example keep people from enjoying their money. We're going to talk about a 70-year-old couple. This could be any age, but we're just kind of using examples of this, okay? In this example, they're enjoying his monthly pension of $3,500 a month. He also has Social Security coming in of $2,500 a month. His wife's Social Security, $2,000 a month. So look at this. They've got $8,000 a month coming in, and all is well in Mudville. So you look at that and you say, what are the taxes on that? Well, this is called the current tax bracket system, okay? And really what this means is the more you make, the more that's the government, takes. Now in this example, Derek's got this highlighted over here. You can see it starts at 10 and goes way up. Now, by the way, these tax rates are some of the lowest in history. Keep this in mind. So in this example, that 12% tax bracket, that's all they pay, all right? Not really that high, not bad. Let's go to the next screen. Notice that they're 70. They're approaching their minimum distribution age, which is 73, coming up pretty soon. And they got this $500,000 IRA that they want us to manage, but they don't want to pay any taxes, okay? But I'm looking at them, I'm going, hey, in 3 years, you're going to have to pay taxes. What if we took money out now? And they said, well, that's a good idea. Let's take some money out now. So maybe they take out $50,000. Let's see what happens. Let's go back to that tax bracket. And as you can see, all of a sudden, depending on their tax bracket, in this case, we're assuming the $50,000 threw them into a 22% bracket. Folks, that's what, $15,000 roughly in taxes, plus they're going to owe some state taxes on that. So not good. Now, here's my point with this tax bracket. Here we are, March 14th, 2023. We got 30-something trillion in debt. I don't know where we're going to get the money to bail out this recent bank. Apparently, they're all going to be made good. That's probably going to add to the deficit. It's continually growing. And they're estimating there's close to $80 trillion that's going to transfer wealth over the next several years. Where do you think the government might get some of those tax dollars? I think they're going to go right to this graphic. My prediction is these taxes are going to go up. So here's the point, folks. You want to control your taxes. You've got today to work with. Now is the time to get up and take action. Don't wait for the politicians to decide what they're going to do down the road about this deficit and possibly raise taxes on your 401k or IRA. Why don't you do this right now? Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started. Let's at least have a phone conversation about your situation and see if we can help. Of course, you can always just call the number on your screen. All right, when I come back, an interesting Tony in the Trenches, I'm going to show you how you can have your cake and eat it too with our split IRA concept. Stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Mandy Houchins, and I'm in charge of all of the annuity distributions here for our clients at Tony Walker Financial. While it's true that annuities do come with surrender periods, there are ways to access funds from your annuity each year. You can take what's called a penalty-free withdrawal. It is normally equal to 10% of the contract value each year without any penalty. If you're interested in learning more about penalty-free withdrawals, please give me a call. Mandy Houchins.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement Hour. Tony in the Trenches comes to us from Sheila in Georgetown, Kentucky. Great question here. She says, Tony, I just turned 59 and a half. I've heard you talk about rolling our 401ks over to you and that split IRA concept, but I'm still working and I want to contribute to my 401k so I can get the match. Can I do both? Well, let's take a look at this. A great diagram Derek worked on. So what we're imagining here, Sheila, this could be you, is 59 and a half or older, still working, putting money in, and also has the employer adding money, all right? But she wants to move what's called the old money, the current money, over to us. We take that money, we have the Charles Schwab bucket and the annuity bucket, or buckets. Just did this last night for a young lady. She's still working, 59 and a half, pretty large sum of money. So we're gonna have the Charles Schwab bucket on the front end. She can get complete access to that anytime she wants. And then we've got the annuities for all that protection and can also be used to refill the Schwab bucket as it starts getting drained down. They also, with the annuities, we've got that beloved Oh, speaking of annuities, I took notice of this as we were preparing for the show. This came from one of the insurance companies. We represent this company, and they're trying to figure out the worries of clients and prospects. Now again, insurance companies write annuities, so they're a little biased. That's okay. And what they were just talking about is the idea of annuities being perfect for income planning, which they really are. But what I took notice of, I flipped this little study over, and on the back, you know how much I love coffee. It says on the back here, well, let's read it. Each respondent was afforded the opportunity to receive a $10 Starbucks gift card as a token of appreciation for their participation in the survey. I mean, you got to anticipate and appreciate expensive coffee for taking surveys. My question is, what if these people knew the difference between Starbucks and the cheap stuff?
Well, it's been a few weeks since I almost killed Tony with cheap coffee, but he's fully recovered and he even built up an immunity. I'd like to think I did him a favor. He also agreed to do a taste test now because he swears he can still tell the difference. All right, so that's Starbucks that he's trying first, and the store brand. All right, Tony, which is which? Oh, all right, one more try of the Starbucks. One more of the store brand. Yeah, no, I think he has to admit this is going to be harder than I thought.
Okay, so let's get back to our study of this 70-year-old couple. In case you're just now joining us, we talked about the tax brackets. We talked about the idea of access to your money, and because there's going to be higher taxes if these people take money out, which they're eventually going to have to at age 73, the required minimum distribution laws will make them take money out. So basically, they're just putting off the pain. They're not doing anything. Folks, this tax tumor is not going away, and as we're going to see in a minute, it is my prediction it's going to grow out of control as the government looks for more tax revenue to try to cover these deficits. So basically, this is what they're doing right now. And they've been talking to me, and they're like, all right, we got this $500,000 IRA. We got to deal with the tax tumor. Tony, what should we be thinking about right now as we record this show in 2023? Let's walk over to the whiteboard, and let's kind of take a look at this. So there's a magical year I want to talk about, and that's the year 2025. Now, under current tax laws, the laws are set to expire in 2025. All that means is Congress could come in and totally revamp them. We don't know that for sure, but they are going to expire, which if it were me, I'm thinking there's a good possibility either then or down the road, taxes will have to go up to cover all of these deficits. Folks, there's trillions and trillions of dollars in these tax-infested 401ks and 403bs and IRAs. It hasn't been taxed yet. And with the swoop of a pen, they can raise those taxes. Those tax brackets can be raised very quickly. They've done it before. So we're maybe now sitting with this couple, and we basically can take charge and at least have some control, all right? We've got this year, 2023, next year, 2024, and the following year, 2025, when the laws expire. So they're probably not going to change them in 2025. They would probably implement new laws, let's say they do change them, in 2026. So we got 3 years to take control of some money and deal with this darn tax tumor. So what I did here, I just did a quick calculation, and I just imagined that we did a $50,000 taxable distribution for 3 years in a row at a 22% tax rate. That's the current taxes. And yeah, over that 3 years, it's a little ugly, a little painful. They're going to have to pay $33,000 in taxes, okay? But what if, this is a what if they raise the rates to 40% after 2025? Could they do that? Well, of course they could. What would that be? Well, the same $50,000, when they have to start taking out money in their minimum distribution years, well, if you take $150 at 40%, if my math's correct, that's $60,000 in taxes. Sounds like that's a whole lot more tax revenue that somebody's going to get. So here's the point, folks. I don't know what the tax rates are going to be, but I do know they're some of the lowest they've been in history. I know that you can take control of your finances if we work on a game plan and try to put something in place now rather than sitting around waiting for something good to happen. So here's my suggestion right now. Why don't you do this? Why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on that Let's Get Started button, and what I propose we do is arrange something we call the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And what happens during that phone call, you're going to talk to myself, the owner of the company, about your situation, and I'm going to quickly size up with my more than 38 years of experience whether we can help you. If we can, we're going to meet in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices, either me or one of our highly trained fiduciaries, to see how we can put a game plan in place for you. So log on now, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or call the number on your screen. Let's make something happen. There is absolutely no cost or obligation to discuss your personal situation. Well, what does the Bible have to say about this whole notion of sitting around idle and not taking charge of your situation? It has a lot to do, and this involves 4 lepers, of all people, sitting at a gate wondering what to do with the rest of their life. It does apply to you and I. Stay tuned. Let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. You've worked hard your entire life. Now, let us work hard for you. My name is Tony Walker, and if you're looking for a game plan that can provide you peace of mind, look no further. Whether it's rolling over your 401k plan, reducing risk, or just setting up a plan that includes mailbox money for life, we're here to help. To speak with me at no cost or obligation, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button or call the number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. Are you retired or retiring soon? Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all of our latest educational content and previous shows of the WorryFree Retirement. Just log on to youtube.com and search Tony Walker Financial. In keeping with our theme of you can't take it with you, one must always be reminded that today could be our last day on earth. In other words, as the old saying goes, a man is not really ready to live until he is ready to die. 4 lepers described in the Bible sure could relate to this. We pick up the story in 2 Kings chapter 7, verse 3, when the nation of Israel is in the middle of a famine and locked away from the rest of the world and starving to death. In verse 3, the 4 lepers sitting outside the gates and waiting to die arrive at the obvious conclusion that things are pretty bleak when one of them asks, "Why do we sit here until we die?" Good question, since they only have 2 options. They can go inside the gates where there's no food and die there, or sit idly by and wait for the leprosy to take them out. Either way, pretty hopeless situation. That is, until one of them gets a harebrained scheme to take a real leap of faith and suggests the 4 of them head over to their arch enemy, the Syrian army, camped just a few miles down the road. And I guess they figure it this way: what have we got to lose, right? We'll just waltz into the Syrian camp and ask for food. The worst they can do is kill us. So they take action, they get up, they walk by faith toward the Syrian encampment, and lo and behold, unbeknownst to the 4 lepers, as they are walking towards the camp, the Lord causes the Syrians to hear loud chariots coming their way, and in great fear the entire Syrian army abandons the camps, heads for the hills, and leaves all of their goods for these 4 lucky lepers to plunder. And so what's the point, Tony, you ask? Well, the point is, at some point, you and I will have to face death and make a decision to either sit there and wait to die or go straight into death by faith and live. And how, you ask, might we find life by dying? Well, Jesus has the answer for that one, and it's found in Matthew 7:13 and 14, where he talks about two gates, one leading to famine and death, the other leading to joy and eternal life. One is attractive but soon ends. The other, well, maybe a little less flashy, but believe me, as the great writer Charles Spurgeon says, is a whole lot better than even what those poor lepers stumbled across and plundered at the Syrian camp. And maybe that's how you feel right now, like one of those lepers sitting there totally out of control, feeling hopeless, helpless, worried, having no hope in life without God, just sitting there waiting to die. Well, to acknowledge our own mortality, friend, is a good thing. We just need to know where to place our faith and where and who to die to so that we might truly have life. We conclude with these wonderful words from the Apostle Paul, who said this about life and death. In Philippians 1:21, he simply says, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." In other words, you want to live and gain the whole world? Don't follow the herd and enter by the wide and unpredictable gate offered by the world, but rather slip on in through the narrow gate offered by Christ. Enter by his gate, by faith, and I assure you the things and worries of this world will soon seem trivial at best. Well, as we conclude our series on You Can't Take It With You, I've got a really important question for you right now. Are you finally ready to get up from that easy chair and take action? To put a plan in place that is centered around you and your family and how to better use and enjoy this money before it's too late? Do you have anyone in your corner that you trust that will meet with you in person? Someone who understands the mind of a saver and how a saver must learn to deal with this thing called money. Well, my name is Tony Walker, and for nearly 40 years, I've used my vast experience in meeting with over 15,000 savers, in overseeing more than 5,000 written game plans, and in helping more than 3,000 clients better use, enjoy, and protect their money, and I'd like to see if I can help you too. To learn more about our unique philosophy on life and money, why don't you do this right now? Contact us and arrange your free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with myself. And it's easy to do. You can just simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and once there, just click on that Let's Get Started button. Or if you like, you can simply call the number on your screen. Then after we talk, if it warrants, I'll be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So take advantage of that right now. Log on or give us a call. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this series on You Can't Take It With You. We're starting a brand new series next week, but between now and then, if all else fails, you remember, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.